Joining us now with analysis of the 2020 election is Dr. Cynthia Rugeley, Associate Professor and Department Head in UMD's Political Science Department. And Dr. Alisa von Hagel is an Associate Professor of Political Science at UW Superior. Thanks to both of you for being here once again. A lot to analyze tonight. Now, no matter what happens in the race for the president, I guess the big question is, can voters feel that they went to the polls and what the results are going to be will be legitimate? That's
a good question. And I mean, it seems like they're, from the very top levels of government, they're being challenged that perhaps they're not legitimate. But they should feel very safe. They should feel very confident in their votes because they've been counted, they've been treated fairly. These things of fraud, they just don't exist.
Mm-hmm. Dr. von Hagel, do you see it the same way?
I do, and I think the outcomes may be taking a little bit longer than people certainly would like to, take place. And certainly we all were hoping that, by, Tuesday night we would have known at some point, or even hopefully Wednesday morning. And it's certainly, drawing out. And just because we have had these, drawn out proceedings that will certainly continue on, It doesn't necessarily mean that there's fraud or that their votes won't count.
Why do you think so many turned out to vote this time around?
I mean, there's, just COVID. I mean, certainly the pandemic and all the repercussions, the effects on the economy, the social injustice, that has been taking place across the country, the protests, and certainly, I think so many people see these events as playing out in such a dramatic role in their personal lives.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Rugeley, how about yourself? Why do you think it ended the way it has?
I agree. I mean, there was a lot of interest in the presidential race, of course, but I also think that the vote by mail made it easier for a lot of people to vote, and so that probably increased voter turnout too, just because it was simpler, it was an easier fashion for doing it.
Mm-hmm. Are you really expecting to have any massive fraud turn up, or is this are these politicians speaking when we talk fraud?
It's politicians speaking when we talk fraud. There's absolutely no evidence that there's widespread fraud. I mean, there are individual incidences, and the reason we know about it is because they're caught, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Doctor, when we look at all the people who voted in this region, why do you suspect the majority of them did go to the polls? Maybe half of them went to the polls rather than vote early. Why the split, do you think?
I think for those who went to the polls, that there is perhaps some tradition or family traditions involved. I know I have many students who are from the Iron Range, and they have an incredibly strong tradition of, civic engagement, of this, civic responsibility, and it's this, almost like family tradition where they go together. And so I think there is a lot of that, that is present in this area where, it's just your, civic responsibility, and it's what you do, regardless of the situation. And so I think that definitely still had an impact and definitely led to, perhaps a greater proportion of people going to the polls on Election Day.
Did you see any surprises in Tuesday's election, particularly local elections?
I knew that was a Republican district, CD8 was, but I mean, the size of the margin of the victories there, and the fact that it did go down to a lot of those state legislative races really surprised me. Pete Stuber's a good candidate, and he's a good representative for that district, but I just didn't think it was a 20-point district, a 15 to 20-point district, and it kind of turned out that perhaps it is.
Mm-hmm. Pete Stuber, of course, got his second term, the only Republican to be returned a second time since 1944. That's 76 years.
I know, yeah.
Why do you think voters were so pleased with him?
Well, I think there's a couple of factors. One is that like I say, he's a good candidate for that district. He's got a labor background. He's pro a lot of issues that they care about out there. And so, I mean, particularly in the Iron Range. And again, he's able to draw that combination of traditional conservative Republicans plus a lot of the labor union Democrats that make up so much of the region.
Mm-hmm. Nick Milroy in your area was returned to office, a slim margin.
Very, very slim. I think last I heard was 139 votes, which for him in that in that district is incredibly small count. And so Kern's campaign has yet to, I think, as far as I'm aware, has yet to say that they will ask for a recount, but they're certainly within the parameters under state law to do so.
Mm-hmm. Question I want to ask, did early voting benefit one party over another?
Well, you can see that there's a dichotomy, and a lot of it was that Republicans and President Bush emphasized supporters to vote on Election Day. And so, did it benefit one party? No, I mean, it didn't. I mean, you can see in CD8 that it didn't, that Republicans did quite well under it. People get the impression it is now, but remember that same-day voters were overwhelmingly Republican and mail-in voters are overwhelmingly Democrat, and that's by design, and it was by the request of the President of the United States, and so it shouldn't be unexpected.
Senator Tina Smith in Minnesota here is going back to Washington, beating Jason Lewis, and Jason, of course, did a lot of advertising in terms of protecting the police. Be certain that we don't underfund the police departments. Was there some negative advertising in there that you saw?
Yeah, there was. I mean, the last minute one where the towns were burning down, that was a pretty harsh ad. That was a tough one. So yeah, there was some negativity in it. There wasn't as much as I thought there would be in this election cycle. That might have been played to a lot of the greater Minnesota, the less urban areas, but I don't think it helped him much in the urban areas. Superior
said no to a part-time mayor. And some people would like to have seen a city administrator instead. Why do you think that failed?
It's, there's, I think, many different forces involved there, and I think that largely, at least as far as I'm aware, that push for that was seen as a way to limit the power of the mayor, and by certain forces, whether it's certain people on the council, the town council itself, as well as others in the community, and who weren't necessarily in support of Mayor Payne and all of the different actions that he was taken, or things that he's been involved in. And so I think for supporters of Payne specifically, but also of many of the things that he has accomplished and done, and things that he stands for, that a vote for that would have severely limited or restricted his ability to continue to carry out his work there.
Regardless of who won offices, all in all, a good election, brought out a lot of people.
It did, and I mean, I think that there's a whole lot to be proud of in this election. People got out and voted. They did it in an orderly fashion, and I'm just believing the elections because they work.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, the fact that so many voters, new voters, especially amongst younger voters, college age, I mean, that we haven't seen turnout in that demographic in, quite some time, which hopefully it sticks and they, become strongly engaged voters for life. But yeah, I mean, it's, it'll take a little while to maybe, find out, and certainly that is frustrating for so many people.
And on that note, we have to say goodbye. Thanks for being here.
You.
It was fun to have you on the air again tonight. Thank you both.